the Man Space Podcast. Take it away, fellas.
Thank you, voice girl, and welcome to another edition of the Man Space Podcast. Now, this is the voice of Russ, and with me, as always, is someone who's still trying to figure out what 6'7" means. The one and only Big Les.
It's just funny that you bring that up. Oh my God. Because my grandchildren and I had this conversation last week, and they laughed at me the whole time. You know, it just continuously laughed. And I couldn't get a good answer. You know, I really don't think they knew what it was.
It means nothing.
It means absolutely nothing. I Googled and Googled and Googled and Googled it. Urban Dictionary, everything.
It comes from a song.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the song, he talks about LaMelo Ball being 6'2", but he plays like he's 6'7". And so all the kids have been running around just saying 6'7". And it's annoying. It's so annoying that schools are banning it now.
Yeah. Means nothing. I'm just like, oh my God. You know,
means absolutely nothing, man.
Well, you know, it's these. I'm not even going to go there. It's just children. They do their own thing. You know, it is.
But listen. Les, have you ever thought about the dangers of caffeine?
No, not really.
There's a lot of good and bad that's reported to be studies have shown with caffeine.
Yeah.
And today we got a special guest. We're going to talk about it. Now, I met this guest probably about 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
After my conversation with him, I have not had caffeine since.
Oh, wow.
The first day that I stopped, and I just cut cold turkey. I didn't wean myself off. I just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've talked about the Ritter Sport candy bar. I love the Ritter Sport candy bar. I have not even gotten that. Just because I'm like, I'm not going to do chocolate because I know chocolate has caffeine in it. So I'm going to cut cold turkey. I've only had a Sprite Zero in the meantime. And no caffeine. But I walk past my Keurig every day with my little K-Pod sitting there, and I opened the refrigerator and there was my creamer. But honestly, it's been interesting. So the first day I had a major headache.
Mm-hmm.
I did some salt water that got rid of that, so that I felt better after that. But since then, my energy levels have increased.
With no caffeine.
With no caffeine.
Okay.
Les, this is our 280th episode.
Yeah.
I hope my boss doesn't listen to this one. She can listen to any of the other 279, but not 280, because I couldn't make it through a whole day without taking a nap.
Oh, no.
I really couldn't. Either I was laid out on the floor in here or on my couch over there for at least 15 minutes because I couldn't make it through a whole day. And that was even after having coffee or an energy drink. And a lot of days I did both. I would drink coffee first thing in the morning when I got up, and then later in the day I would drink an energy drink. And that was just to get me through the morning.
Right.
So don't let me have lunch. It's
crazy.
A real wrap then.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I couldn't make it through a TV show. I have one chair that's downstairs that I love.
Yeah.
I would be in that chair, knocked out sleep.
Yeah.
7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I'm out cold.
That is ridiculous, man.
Just because that energy crash. But since I've been off, no problems whatsoever.
I don't drink coffee that much. I go back and forth. I'll drink a cup here and there. Lately, it's just been like half a cup of coffee because, you know, now that I switched my work routine, I'm on third shift. So I'm not drinking coffee at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. It's just not going to happen, you know, regardless of the shift. And then I'll sip a little bit with the wife in the morning, having our conversation, you know, while she's having some when she's going to work. I'm going to bed. So it
Yeah.
don't keep me up anyway. I'm out because it don't matter. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I haven't been doing the coffee thing for a while. I used to be big into it. 3-4 cups a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
really
it wasn't something that I was into. I got into energy drinks before I actually started drinking coffee.
right. Yeah. I only drink energy drinks when like like I know I'm gonna burn all of that sugar and stuff off.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know?
Oh, man, and don't let me drive, because we do all the 13, 14-hour drive to Detroit from here.
Yeah.
I've probably had about 3 to 4 energy drinks and a cup of coffee. A cup of coffee before I
Really?
left the house. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
every stop along the way, I'm grabbing an energy drink just to make it up there.
Yeah, nah, I don't need I don't nah, nah, when I drive up there, it's not, one, it's only a 10-hour drive for me, but still, I don't need it like I just don't. I don't know
It
why.
was Yeah.
I, n-
For
now,
me, it's almost just the taste of it,
yeah,
now.
what I got a problem with is Coke Zero.
Mm.
I have a problem with that. Yeah, unfortunately, it's like crack. You know what I mean?
Well,
I'll drink one in the morning, noon. I'll drink them. I drink them all day. My wife's like, "Stop it!"
I have a guest that'll be coming up in a few weeks that'll ruin that for you. So
Oh,
we need to get to our guest today. He is the
yeah.
founder of Release the Coffee Cuffs and the author of Winning the Battle with Caffeine. After decades of performing as a high performing entrepreneur running on coffee, he discovered caffeine was quietly draining his energy, not fueling it. Now he helps people break free from caffeine dependency and reclaim the calm, steady energy without losing their spark for the mornings. Manspace Nation, today we are joined by a man that's going to ruin your favorite beverage. Manspace Nation, put your hands together for Mr. Steve Frazier. Welcome to the show, Steve. Welcome to the show.
Welcome,
Yeah,
welcome.
that was a very appropriate and intriguing introduction, and I appreciate it. Hopefully, nobody tunes out immediately. Gives me an opportunity to talk. So, what am I dealing with? I admire you, Russ, for going cold turkey. I wouldn't recommend it. I did it 2 years ago, and it took me. I lost 3 days of my life.
Oh
I had a
wow,
headache so
wow.
bad, you know. And the only thing that you can do is either drink water or drink caffeine, okay? Because
Mhm.
it's the adenosine receptors, and I can chat about that later in the cycle. But
Mhm.
uh, I have several challenges doing what I'm doing. One is cognitive dissonance, and I'm going to explain this just so people understand. You may understand.
Okay.
We all have long held beliefs, and we've been programmed to believe certain things throughout our life.
Mhm.
Okay. And then when new information is introduced that contradicts what we've known all our lives as the truth, we disregard it
Mhm.
because that can't be right, because that's not what we know,
Mhm.
because we know what we know, right? However,
Right.
there's this thing that I got from my wife is we don't know what we don't know. And that's what I'm here. I'm here to break that bubble. I'm not anti-caffeine. My book is not anti-caffeine. It is pro-health and pro-knowledge. I've handed the book to my family and friends, and the first thing they say to me is, "You aren't taking my coffee from me." And I just chuckle and I say, "Well, I have no intention of doing that. First of all, I can't. I can't make you do anything because we all have free will and free won't, and we all control what goes in our bodies. And
Yeah.
so I
Mhm.
have no intention. My role here is to provide information because someone you may know has a negative health effect from caffeine if they drink a lot of caffeine. Okay. And they just don't know it's from the caffeine. And that's
Mhm.
because of cognitive dissonance. And you realize that 85% of the adults in the United States drink caffeine every day. That's two to three
Yes.
hundred million people. Okay. Now you realize that the
Wow.
doctors are in that 85%. So you go
Mhm.
to a doctor, and I'm not ripping on doctors here. They're human, right? And so so the doctor sees a symptom that could be caffeine related. The last thing that they think about is that could be caffeine, because I drink caffeine and that doesn't happen to me. And so maybe they just they just ignore it. Okay. So, of all the things that I talk about, the most important one is sleep, because sleep actually is the foundation of your health. Okay. It's the foundation of your day. And if you get a good night's sleep, and ironically here, people that drink caffeine sleep. Okay. I'm by no means telling you that you don't sleep if you drink caffeine. However, your sleep cycle is going to be out of whack, and that has to do with your circadian rhythm. And I know, Les, you mentioned you work shift work.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And I give you my sympathies and my empathy, because your circadian rhythm is in turmoil. Okay, because your natural circadian rhythm is you wake up in the morning, cortisol wakes you up, and adenosine and melatonin puts you to sleep. So now we're going to throw caffeine in there. Okay. Now I don't drink caffeine anymore. I used to. I was chronic user, especially when I was in the restaurant business. And then 11 years ago, I had a health scare, went to the emergency room, had something called premature ventricular contractions. They're called PVCs. I mean, I thought I was having a heart attack. So my wife takes me to the ER. They put me on an EKG, and I can see the EKG machine spike every time I have this palpitation. Doctor walks in, said, "You're going to be okay. You're not dying." I said, "Well, that's great news." And so then we went, I said, "So what's going on here?" He said, "Well, you're having these PVCs." He said, "Everybody has them. You are particularly sensitive to them." And so I said, "Okay, so why is this happening?" And he said, "Well, stress."
Was that related to anxiety as well? Because I've read that caffeine can boost anxiety.
Absolutely. It absolutely does. Okay, there's no doubt. I think it was the caffeine. I was driving from where I live. I'm 3 hours. I was driving to Milwaukee. I live in northern Wisconsin. And so I used to demo. My wife, when she got sick and couldn't eat gluten anymore, she created a pasta made from garbanzo beans, and I sold it in Milwaukee. And I was on my way there, literally driving, and I turned around. I should have went to the hospital, because if I was really having a heart attack, I'd have just died on the side of the road. But hindsight's golden. So ultimately, he said the caffeine. So I quit. And like every good addict, after about 2 or 3 years, I thought, I can do this again.
I try it again.
I can do this. I got this all under control. Well, that went right out the window. So I quit. I quit 2 years ago, cold turkey, just like you, Russ. Mine was very unpleasant. 3 days. I lost 3 days, headache. I called my daughter, who's a natural health practitioner. I said, "What should I do?" She said, "Well, drink as much water as you can. If you want to humor yourself, you can take some ibuprofen, which isn't going to do you any good, because it's what happens is when you drink caffeine, in a nutshell, is caffeine molecule is very similar to something called an adenosine molecule. Adenosine is what puts you to sleep at night in that circadian rhythm. Well, the caffeine molecule plugs the adenosine receptor. And so if you're drinking caffeine all day, when you go to bed at night, you're tired because your body's tired. You go to sleep, but your adenosine receptors are plugged so that it's not naturally putting you to sleep. Now, when you quit cold turkey, your adenosine receptors open up, and you get this massive blood flow to your head. So if you taper, you take that withdrawal over a period of time. Otherwise, if you're a chronic user, if you have 300 to 500 milligrams or more a day, you're going to wipe out a minimum of 3 days of your life, and possibly 7 to 9. Okay, depending on how much you've used. And so, you just budget for that. And that's why I don't recommend cold turkey, is because a lot of people can't waste, because you're going to be so crabby and tired and brain fatigued, and you're going to have a headache. So you're just kind of useless to the world for a little while. And so what happens when you drink caffeine first thing in the morning? That's a very, very popular thing to do because you're tired, you've got brain fog. And so your cortisol naturally rises in the morning. It's a stress hormone, but it's a natural thing that then gets you going. And that's completely normal. Now, if you drink caffeine first thing in the morning, what caffeine does is, first of all, it raises your cortisol. And so you're now double dipping on cortisol. Your cortisol naturally is going up. Now you're adding to that because you don't control this. Your body controls this. Okay. So if somebody says that doesn't happen to me, they don't know because they don't know what's going on in their body. And according to all the studies that I've looked at, in 300 of them in my book, cortisol goes up. That's first thing. Second thing is you get a dopamine hit. Okay. Now this is a wonderful thing. Dopamine is a wonderful thing because it's a natural high. So it makes you feel good.
Right.
Now it's produced generally in the adrenal gland, but also different parts of your body. And then what happens is that, but if you keep hitting it, eventually it's just going to produce a little bit less. Now, the third thing that happens when you drink that caffeine first thing in the morning is you get an adrenaline spike because that caffeine makes your adrenal glands pump out adrenaline because that's also a stress hormone and you're in fight or flight. And, everybody has always used that term, fight or flight, fight or flight. Well, what really happens? Well, it's intended for you to save your life, right? Whether you're running from a bear, a lion, a tiger, you've heard of ladies lifting up cars off of kids, whatever. Right. That's adrenaline. So you have this adrenaline hit, but what happens when you get an adrenaline hit? First thing that happens is your body pumps glucose into your muscles. And because, again, you're fighting or flighting. And so if you're sitting at your kitchen table or at your desk at work or in the coffee room having coffee with someone, you're not fighting or flighting. You are just sitting there. And so what happens? You're not using the glucose, and then your blood sugar spikes. And then what happens? Your natural response, your pancreas is going to pump out some insulin, right, to bring your blood sugar down. Now, this is a cycle. And, I talk about this in the book in 14 chapters. It's a rinse and repeat. Once you get into this, it's very hard to get out of it. And you no longer get a buzz anymore. You are now just getting to a baseline. Because here's an observation, and this is a philosophical question for anybody that's listening, including you guys. Does anybody really know what it's like to feel healthy anymore?
I doubt it.
I'm sure that there's a few that are, living that vegan lifestyle. So
our bodies are beautifully and wonderfully made. And we do everything possible to screw them up. Okay. And I'm not talking just about caffeine here. I'm talking about food, whatever. Okay. It's hard to be healthy. It's work. It's hard work to be healthy.
It is.
So
it's expensive.
Yes, it is.
Extremely.
However, with that being said, if you eat right and take care of yourself, you don't take any drugs, you don't have any deductibles, you don't go see the doctor. My primary caregiver is my daughter. I see a licensed nurse practitioner once a year just so I can get blood taken and things like that. But what it comes down to is that if you're healthy, you're not spending any money on doctors or drugs. Okay. Now, nobody wants to hear this. Okay. My son is a perfect example. He's got high blood pressure. He's 45 years old, takes medication for blood pressure. Well, he's only 45. At some point, he's going to have to take more and more, and then he's going to have to take another medication for that. So you can get in this cycle. And so what exactly does caffeine do to men? We'll start with men first, because we're going to get to women too, because it's important. Okay. Because I think you have a lot of women, and every man that's watching this has a woman in their life. Okay. Because they have a mom.
Sure.
Okay?
That's true.
You can't get away from that. And so as a man, you know, one of the biggest things is that every time you drink caffeine, your blood pressure goes up. Why? It's because of the adrenaline. Because your body is doing this to save you in a fight or flight. Well, you do this 5, 6, 7 times a day, pretty soon your blood pressure is just staying up there. Okay. And we talked about this briefly in the beginning. You know, caffeine definitely affects anxiety and nervousness. And I did a podcast last night with a guy, and he brought up the DSOM. It's the actual medical results of caffeine. You know, nervousness and anxiety are up in the top 3 or 4. So a lot of guys don't want to talk about this because we can't show any emotions. You know, we can't be soft. We gotta be man. You know, we got to be this tough guy.
Right.
So you got the blood pressure thing. There's a bigger one, and it has to do with cortisol and testosterone. And you know, testosterone is important for a number of reasons. Okay, one, it helps build your muscle, and it increases. If you have good testosterone, you have good libido, and your sperm is healthy. Now, sounds kind of weird, but it's the truth. If you drink a lot of caffeine, there's a good chance that your sperm is going to be fractured. It'll have less mobility, less motility, which gives you not an opportunity to reproduce as good. Okay. Obviously, people that drink caffeine have babies. Okay. And we're going to get to the woman part of that in a minute. But so everything that I say, there's always exceptions. It's not a rule. Now, another thing with testosterone is that cortisol and testosterone do not get along. So the more cortisol you have, they're blood enemies.
Yeah.
So the more cortisol you have, the less testosterone you have. So as an example, if somebody takes a pre-workout drink and they go and work out, while they're working out, they're actually producing testosterone, even with all that caffeine in them that's in the pre-workout drink. However, when they're done with their workout and their cortisol comes down, their testosterone does not continue to produce. And then one of the best times for you to produce testosterone is while you sleep in stage 3. Well, that is now shortened and it's not activated as soon. And so you're not creating as much. So your libido goes down. So you don't want to have sex as much because your libido's down. Okay. Now here's another, and this is a fun fact to know and tell, and you're going to get a kick out of this. Cortisol, when it's not used, goes around your belly. It's called the cortisol belly. And you can't get rid of it with exercise or diet because it's excess cortisol, and that is naturally where it goes. And so you can see a fit guy or a fit girl, and they've got this little tube around their belly. Yeah. That's excess cortisol. Okay. And so doesn't matter how much you eat. If you continue to drink caffeine, you're going to have excess cortisol because you're not burning it off. You're not using it in that fight or flight.
I'll attest to that. Les, I went to Buc-ee's earlier this week, and you know, it's about an hour drive for me to get to the closest Buc-ee's, but I drove up there and got in the store, and I'm walking around, and you know, I have my little burrito in one hand. I got my other hand on my belt, trying to hold my pants up because my pants would not stay up anymore now that I've been off caffeine. And I'm losing a little bit around my waist. I couldn't get my pants to stay up. So I had to hurry up and get out of the store before I showed everybody a little bit too much.
Yeah, but you got that Buc-ee's sandwich though, didn't you?
I did get my Buc-ee's sandwich. I sure did.
So how was Buc-ee's?
It's always amazing.
I hit it once or twice a year on my drive to Florida and back to Wisconsin.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You know, and I always get one. It's just pretty impressive looking at all the gas pumps, but that's a whole nother thing.
It's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Every opportunity I get a chance to stop at one, I'm gonna stop. So but we got to take a quick break, but we got to talk about our sponsor real quick. And guys, you know who our sponsor is. Our sponsor is none other than Manscaped. Gentlemen, and the brave partners who love them, let's talk about landscaping. No, not your lawn. We're talking about personal property maintenance. Introducing from Manscaped, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the only tool that makes trimming your hedges feel like upgrading your sports car. With precision blades, skin-safe technology, and a light so bright you could land a plane. This thing doesn't just mow, it glides. So say goodbye to nicks, snags, and that terrifying moment when your clipper sounds like it's eating your furniture. Listen, guys, use our code TMSP20 and get 20% off your first order and free shipping. Because if it's free, I'll take 3. So fellas, if you want your front yard to look well presentable, then get the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra from Manscaped, because your body deserves curb appeal too. We are back here on the Manspace Podcast with our special guest, Mr. Steve Fisher. So,
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
there are studies that say that you should not take more than 400 milligrams of caffeine in a day. Does that still exist, or is that old? Is that old news, or
That's
should we say
manufactured.
fake news, or
That
How-
is made up.
what do we really? What is the real number when it comes to caffeine?
It is the 400 milligram thing is arbitrary number. Somebody made it up, and if you were going to ask me from my research, if you're going to drink caffeine, first thing you should do in the morning is drink lemon water before you drink caffeine, because
Okay.
it rehydrates your cells. Okay, caffeine is a diuretic. Okay, so what do? As soon as you drink caffeine, you start to pee. Well, you're just not peeing out water. You're peeing out minerals, calcium and magnesium. Okay,
Right.
And men and women in particular, they get osteoporosis. Their bones go to crap, right? Because they're not getting the supplements. So if you're going to continue to drink caffeine, get some supplements.
Mhm.
And I'm not giving medical advice. I'm saying go see a natural practitioner. And magnesium glycinate is something you can take at night that will help you sleep, but also then it goes into your body.
So let me ask you this: what do you think about? They advertise this mushroom coffee as a substitute. What do you think about that? Is that a viable substitute for people who have this caffeine addiction?
Not if it has caffeine in it. Okay, if you look at a lot of mushroom coffees, it has caffeine in it. I know. I looked at it. And we used to sell it. We used to sell it at my daughter's clinic. And the simple fact is that if you drink 100 to 200 milligrams before 10 o'clock in the morning, the half-life is 5 to 8 hours. So even when you go to bed at 10 o'clock, there's going to be a little left, but it's generally out of your system. How many people can do that? Not many. Most of them are drinking caffeine throughout the day.
So that was interesting. You said what's the time frame that the caffeine actually stays in your system?
The half-life is 5 to 8 hours.
Wow.
How many people have their last caffeine at 10 o'clock in the morning? Not very many.
Not very many, no.
And I'm just gonna kick into the women thing for a minute here, because it's important. In their menstrual cycle, there's the last 14 to 28 days in the menstrual cycle. It's called the luteal phase. And in that phase, women process caffeine 70% slower. And so that 150 milligram cup of coffee at noon at 10 o'clock at night is still 75 milligrams active. Okay. So it's still plugging up her adenosine receptors, probably. Who knows? I don't know all the things, because each one of us are different. We all process differently,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I would say to any woman, and my mission statement is to give out information,
Right.
and to say to you guys, if you know someone that's experiencing some of the symptoms we talked about and will talk about possibly, then have them share with them information. My micro mission is to get every pregnant woman to stop drinking caffeine. As adults, we all have free will and free won't, right? We can all do what we
Right.
want.
Absolutely.
The fetus does not have free will. The
Mhm.
fetus is completely dependent on mom. And so caffeine crosses the placental barrier, crosses the blood-brain barrier. And the biggest thing is that there's an enzyme in our livers which processes 95% of the caffeine. It's called the CPY1A2.
Mhm.
You don't need to know this, other than the fact that does not develop in a baby until it's 3 to 6 months old. So the whole time that it's in the body, in the womb, all the caffeine that goes into it stays in there because it's not being processed,
Oh, wow.
because it does not have that enzyme. Now just think about this. Think about the baby that's born, that's been on caffeine for 9 months, and 12 hours after it's born, the adenosine receptors open up.
Mm.
Okay, put yourself there. They're screaming bloody murder, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the nurses and the doctors are going to say, oh, that's normal. Oh, your baby's colicky. Did you ever think maybe it's the caffeine? I mean, when moms come in and they're addicted
Oh,
to
my.
drugs, they know this. And so when the baby's delivered, they detox and put the babies in withdrawal. So nobody ever talks about caffeine withdrawal with babies in particular. What else does caffeine do to the fetus? Well, in the studies, this is all documented.
Mm-hmm.
Caffeine can lead to, and that's the key word, it can lead to low birth weight, can lead to miscarriage, can lead to stillbirth. It can lead to developmental issues after the baby's born. And I personally have 2 miscarriages and a stillbirth in my immediate family.
Oh, man.
And if I can stop one of those from happening, I'm a rock star.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you spread this message, okay, it's simply that, because when a baby dies in a miscarriage or stillbirth, it's devastating for not just the baby and mom and dad, that whole circle of influence, right? Grandma and grandpa, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles. My niece had an open casket for a 7-month-old fetus.
Mhm.
Wow.
And if that doesn't rip your heart out, you don't have a heart.
Mm.
And I'm not telling you that just because you drink caffeine, you're going to have a miscarriage or stillbirth.
Right.
Okay. By no means. However, and I'll never know the answer, because there's no even delayed gratification here. But somewhere down the line,
Right.
my message is going to hit somebody, and they're going to stop drinking caffeine while they're pregnant. And I may have been responsible for saving a life, as well as you. So that's my micro mission. I mean, there's a lot more, women, because of they have different hormones than guys. Okay, so they're
Right.
going to be more nervous. Their anxiety is going to be worse,
Yeah.
especially during their PMS period.
Hmm.
Ironically, caffeine aggravates PMS, and if you look at any over-the-counter PMS medication, it is loaded with caffeine, 30 to 60 milligrams in a tablet.
Wow.
Okay, I mean, so if you take 2 of those with 60 milligrams, you're drinking it's like a whole cup of coffee.
Right.
So what it does, it gives you temporary relief, but it's going to aggravate your PMS symptoms dramatically.
Mm.
So for all the guys out there listening who have a wife or girlfriend that has these tremendous cramps and mood swings, whatever.
Yeah.
If she's drinking a ton of caffeine or taking caffeine and medication during this time, you might want to share this information with her.
Yeah.
Because everybody's life's going to be better.
Hmm.
So we have all these things that caffeine can do to men and women, right?
Right.
And nobody wants to talk about it because caffeine is $1 trillion business. $1 trillion. Okay.
Yeah.
And money talks. We all know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Look at how long it took them to pull cigarettes after people are
Right.
just dropping, right?
Mhm.
I
Right.
mean, and look at the settlement. And we still have cigarettes. Why? Because of money.
Mhm.
Because the
Mm.
lobbies are so big.
That's
And
right.
you know, I have nothing against anybody. I smoked for 15 years.
Mhm.
The good
Mm.
news is I quit 40 years ago. Okay, because I'd be dead,
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
Congrats. Yeah.
Congratulations.
And I
Yeah.
still want a cigarette. Today I will walk through somebody blowing out smoke
Yeah.
Mm.
just to get that, because I get a dopamine hit when I smell cigarette smoke.
Mm.
Wow.
It never left my subconscious because we are programmed. These things are programmed into us from birth. You know, you look at Folgers, you know, waking up to Folgers in your cup. Have you seen that commercial, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Folgers in
The
your
minute,
cup.
Yep.
yeah, that's right.
Best part of
You could
waking
see the
up.
commercial.
Yep.
It is.
Mhm.
You see the beans. Mom walks into the bedroom with two cups of coffee. She hands them to dad. Dad smells it. Oh my gosh, smells wonderful. Then two little boys.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
I was
as
gonna say
dad drinks
we've
his
been
cup,
there,
two little boys jump out of the twin beds, right?
bro.
And they look at
Yep.
mom and dad, and they're all smiling. They have a group hug. We got a major dopamine hit here because we feel good. We feel
Yeah.
good because they feel good.
Bro.
Now, just think of those little boys. And this happens every day in America, everywhere, every day around the world. Mom's got that cup in her hand that says, "Don't talk to me before I drink this."
Yep.
Right. Okay. So what are those little boys thinking when they see mom and dad smiling, drinking coffee?
Mhm. It's a good thing.
Coffee is the key to successful adulting
Mhm.
and the key to happiness. And when you see this every day, that goes right into your subconscious mind. And once you're 7 years old, 95% of your subconscious is programmed.
Yeah.
And that the subconscious runs our lives.
Yeah.
Okay. And so every day, you know, you look at, I mean, you can't, I live in a small northern Wisconsin community. There's 3 Starbucks and a Dunkin' Donuts within 3 miles of my house.
Wow.
Wow.
And that's not the other little coffee shops, right? I mean, you go, they're just all over, and so you can't get away from it. And it's always, and let's face it, you walk into one of these places and it looks great, it smells great.
Yeah. No.
Mm.
So how do we get away from this? Well, there's the physical aspect, which is brutal if you quit, especially cold turkey. But if you taper, it's better. That is actually the easiest part. The hardest part is staying off of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just like any other addiction, because
Mhm.
you have emotional issues, you've got psychological issues, and you have social issues. Because people are looking at you when you stop drinking caffeine, you're no longer part of the herd. Okay, that's self-sabotage talk, but it's the truth. You know, okay, if all your friends drink alcohol,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden one day you go to the party and you have an
I
NAB in
don't
your
drink.
hand,
Yep. Yep.
what in the world are what?
Yep.
Why wouldn't you want to drink?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the same with weed, it's the same with cigarettes, it's the same with caffeine.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to quit, and if you want to quit, first of all, you make a decision. You don't say, "I'm going to try to quit."
Yeah.
You will fail every time.
Do it or don't. Yeah.
You either quit or you don't quit. And I'm okay with either one, right? Because it's your
Yeah,
life. It's your body.
absolutely. You made me think about when I first started drinking coffee. I didn't drink coffee, and some of my employees would say, "Hey, let's walk over," because there was a Starbucks right across the walkway from where our office was. Like, hey, let's
Sure.
just take a break and walk over
Yeah.
to Starbucks. So I would walk over there, but I wouldn't get coffee. And they're like,
Mhm.
oh, you got to get a cup. You got to get a cup. And it'll be, sometimes my employees, sometimes be the other managers. And so I just go over there. And finally, I tried one drink and I thought it was awful. And the barista was like, well, let me make something for you. And so she
Mhm.
made me a vanilla latte, and I thought it was fantastic. And I came in there the next day to get it, and somebody else made it, and it was horrible.
Mhm.
And so I was like, and it was the girl's boss who made it, right, this time. And I was like, oh no, he can't make a good cup of coffee to save his life, right? So I would go in there and she would make my drink, and all she had to do was see me. And then she would just point and say, here's your cup, right? She would just go ahead and just make it for me. So I didn't have
Right.
to order. And that just became my my thing. I just became addicted
Right.
to that drink because she made it. And so for like the next year, I was having 1 to 2 of those every single day, and it just went from there. And then I realized how much I was spending at Starbucks. And so I was like, well, let me figure out how to do this at home. And so here's the Keurig and everything, and just continued on. But
Yeah.
Steve, we're running real low on time on this episode. Please share with the Manspace Nation your social media handles, your website, and how can they get your book as well.
Okay. Everything is on the website. Release the Coffee Cuffs. That's KUFFS.com. And you can get the book there. You can get a lot of free information. I'm going to send you some links where people can get tools and trackers and some articles on different caffeine things.
Awesome.
Yes.
You can contact me right off the website. Our handle on all social media is Release the Coffee Cuffs. So we're on every platform: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. TikTok, we've had quite a bit of success with our reels.
Sweet.
We do reels basically every day. Sometimes I talk about just caffeine. Sometimes I talk about things that are kind of related to caffeine. But if I will leave you with a message, as this is from my wife, it is: you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
That's right.
Right.
However, you can make it thirsty. And my role is to make people thirsty for knowledge so that they take what I had to say and see if it's affecting their life. If caffeine is affecting their health and their life.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. Steve, we're going to have to follow back up with you at a later date and, see how this progress continues with no caffeine, and update you, and maybe we can get Les to join the bandwagon at the same time and do that.
Hey, listen.
Yeah, because there's so much about this interview. We didn't even get a chance to really scratch the surface with you on this one. There's so much more that we really need to get into. And it's like, I'm looking at the time like, wow, where did the time go? But this has been tremendous. A lot of great information. We're going to come back and we're going to circle back and have you back on at a later date so we can talk a little bit more about the caffeine addictions and things like that, because there's so much more to talk about. But Manspace Nation, we got to take a break. We'll be back with more of the Manspace podcast. As we do each week, we like to close the show with just a little bit of inspiration. Addiction. An addiction isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of being human. At some point, many of us reach out for something to fill a void, numb the pain, quiet the thoughts that just feel too loud. But here's the truth. What feels unbreakable today can absolutely change tomorrow. Beating an addiction starts with one simple, powerful decision: to believe you can. Every small victory counts. The first day that you say no. The moment that you reach out for help. The time you replace an old habit with something that nourishes you. Recovery isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's not just about quitting something that's harmful to you. It's about rediscovering yourself. The strength that you build in this process becomes your greatest source of power. You'll see that you are never broken. You are just becoming. So take a deep breath. It doesn't matter if it's alcohol, caffeine, smoking, drugs, or something else. Start where you are. You don't have to figure it all out today. You just need to take the next step. Manspace Nation, freedom isn't a destination. It's all about the choices that you make every single day. You can do this. And that's really what it is. It's about the choices that we make. You know,
Every day.
we can take the information that our guest Steve gave us today about coffee and you know, it's still, people have the choice. You can either follow it and stop, or you can just say, you know what, I'm here for a short time, and you know,
I'm not here for a long
go
time. I'm
for it.
here for a good time. You know,
Right. You
some
know,
people have that. They have that
some people
mantra.
have that mindset. Right.
Yeah,
Don't,
yeah.
you know, you've seen the shirts. Don't talk to me before I have my
My
coffee.
coffee.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I have responded to people on Teams, you know, first thing in the morning when they like, hey, you there? No, I haven't had my coffee yet. Let me finish a cup.
I'll get back
Don't
with you
bother
in a
me.
few. Yeah,
Give me
exactly.
15, you know, but yeah, I mean that it becomes a mindset that people have to really try to control and deal with, because that mindset, and it becomes an addiction, and it takes over your life.
Yeah. Well, I think too, it's just one of those things that, you know, you're just constantly around, and that
Mhm.
message has
Right.
has been placed and put in you, and you know how it is. This message, oh, this is good for you, but the truth behind it is not that great. And when the truth comes out, it's hard to assimilate the truth
Yeah.
versus what you've been raised on and what you've been told all of your life.
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
and you just can't tell somebody, well, this is not good for you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they go, oh, what do you mean it's not good for you? My
I've been doing
granddaddy
this
lived
for
out
40 years. Right. Yeah.
85 years and blah,
Well,
blah, blah.
right. Well,
Listen,
you know, a lot of those things are not the same as what they used to be too.
exactly. They're
So,
not the same as 80 years ago.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
so you got to pay attention to that. And there's a lot of truth to it. People, we really need to get out here and do research and really look and
Yeah.
see what's healthy and what's good for you. Because
Right.
there are children who drink coffee.
Yeah. That's
Look
true.
at the sodas. All the sodas, or pop, whatever you want to call it, or Coke, all have caffeine in it.
Yeah.
You know, it is hard today to escape the grips of caffeine because
It
it's
is.
in so many products.
Uh,
So I implore people to
yeah.
take a look and read and go truth seek for themselves.
Yeah. Truth seek. Absolutely. Do your research, but also, you know, while you're at it, make sure you go out there and follow. I just did on at Release the Cuffs, Release the Coffee Cuffs. Make sure you
Yeah.
follow. So I just followed and make sure you get more information. So,
Absolutely.
well, as we do every week, Monday nights on WTMSTV.com. You can catch this episode and every episode that gets released 2 days earlier before it releases to the public on WTMSTV.com at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then on Thursday nights, it's Throwback Thursday with the Manspace Podcast on WTMS TV. It's back to back to back to back episodes of the Manspace Podcast, 8 p.m. Eastern on WTMSTV.com. And as we'd like to close out with, on that note,
We out of here.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Man Space.
Whichever platform you listen to us on, make sure you subscribe and don't miss a show.
Remember to keep up with all the Man Space updates on our website, themanspacepodcast.com.
And you can follow us on Instagram at manspacenat1.
Until next time, Man Space Nation, he's Les, I am Russ, and we are out
of here.
I'm making coffee. Anybody want coffee? I'm making coffee. I'm having a cup of coffee. Does anybody want coffee? Because I'm having a cup of coffee.